Welcome to another edition of Green is Good. This is the Green Sports Alliance edition of Green is Good in downtown Chicago. And we're so honored to have with us today Chris DeVolder. He's a sustainable design leader for sports and recreation with HOK. And you can find HOK at HOK.com. Welcome to Green is Good, Chris.
Thanks, John. Great to be here.
Before we get talking about all the great work you're doing at HOK, can you share the Chris DeVolder story and journey leading up to now?
Okay, sure. Well, of all things, I was playing in a band, an Irish band.
Okay.
And the lead singer has a real thought leader in sustainable design. And he was on a local radio show. This is in Kansas City where we live. And someone called in and said, hey, we're interested in doing something pretty unique. Do you want to help? So he asked if I wanted to help. I said, sure, sounds great, extra work, right?
Right.
So it turns out that what they were wanting to do was to develop an organic sheep farm so that they could sell the wool, sell the meat, milk the sheep, and make organic sheep's cheese.
That's great.
And they had set this bar of sustainability at the highest level. Could have been off the grid. They wanted to be connected to the grid, but anything and everything around energy, water, materials, that sort of thing. So he started giving me things to read. I had never really indulged in sustainability, researched it all, and with every book he gave me, I realized this is what we should be doing. At the time, I had 2 young children, and realized there's generational connection there that I had never thought about before. So that's really how I got started, and it just, from that day on, I've been trying to implement it into all of our projects, especially now with our sports facility.
And what's HOK? Can you explain to our listeners and our viewers what's HOK's macro mission?
Sure. So HOK is, in fact, this year is our 60-year anniversary.
Wow.
We're a global design firm, architecture, engineering. We've got 26 offices around the world.
Wow.
And we've been a leader in sustainability really since the beginning. It's part of our culture. You might say it's part of our DNA.
Right.
So it's just a good fit.
And where do you work out of? Which office?
I'm out of the Kansas City office.
Kansas City office. So, so 60 years of history. Talk a little bit about the evolution. Since it's culturally and DNA part of HOK, then talk a little bit about some of the projects that you've done historically and some of the more recent, cooler projects that you've done that our listeners and viewers can all relate to.
Okay, sure. We take the approach that every line we draw impacts life, whether it's the people that use the building or the people that are connected to them. So when you boil it down to that level, it makes you think differently about what we're doing. So we do that in everything, whether it's a small office for Google, or if it's a brand new $1.6 billion stadium for the Atlanta Falcons.
Gotcha. Wow. And so you do both office buildings?
Office buildings, airports. We just got the new award for the LaGuardia renovation and expansion.
Thank you. You're my new favorite best friend. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah. Offices, as we mentioned, and sports facilities, recreation centers.
So you do brand new and you do redevelopment work?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah.
And everything has a sustainability or...
we always try to. Yeah.
Right. Like you said, every line can affect the domino effect of every line that you draw.
That's right. That's right. And I think because of our brand, if you will, around sustainability, we have those clients that are really in tune with that are now coming to us, asking us to help them out. Yeah.
That is so neat. So talk a little bit about HOK and GSA. How many years has HOK been involved with GSA, and what specifically are you excited about here at this conference?
Yeah, good question. So, this is the 5th summit they've had.
Right.
This is my 5th summit.
Wow.
Where the first one in Portland, I think there were about 100 of us there.
Wow.
It was a small group, obviously, and it's grown, I think, over 700, 800 this year. So we've been supporting them as best we can through membership support or just providing input, helping with panels, that sort of thing over the years. And they're a great resource and a great partner for us.
And are you speaking at this event?
I am actually moderating a panel on how our projects can impact urban revitalization, urban development.
Which seems to be a theme that I hear a lot about here at this conference. Can you share excuse me, can you share who's on your panel and how's that look?
Yeah, panel it's an all-star panel, really. We've got representation from the Atlanta Falcons. We're building the new LEED Platinum Stadium. It'll be the first LEED Platinum Stadium in the world. Who happens to be a client of ours. Sacramento Kings, Canal Merchant, who you're going to talk to. They're doing a new arena downtown. Edmonton Oilers, they're doing a new arena that we're helping them with downtown.
Wow. So they're on your panel, and the thesis is how a new sports venue can take what was potentially historic, a blighted area,
absolutely,
and create new life, somewhat akin to what the Staples Center did for downtown Los Angeles.
Right. It really becomes a catalyst. On all three of those examples, they created this intention of here's what we're going to do, and because of it, there's all this other redevelopment that they're not even associated with that is now wants to be part of these districts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. You've seen and been part of the GSA growing from day one. Where are you with HOK and the GSA in the evolution of this? And is this still just beginning times, and the growth, the massive growth, is even still in front of you?
I absolutely think it is, John. I think we're not even crawling yet. We're just learning how to crawl around this. And what I've seen in the last 5 years is it's really grown from a group based in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, to not just all over the country, but there's people here from, I think, 4 or 5 continents this year. So the reach is now global.
It's a global
and we're just
deal.
getting started.
It's a global deal, really.
It absolutely is.
Because sports is so global, so it makes sense that this would be global. So is HOK was always a global company for the last 60 years?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yes. Yeah.
So this just fits perfectly also. So this is not only living your ethos, really, but it's also great business opportunity also for HOK, as with the growth of sports and sports venues wanting to be greener. This is a great business opportunity.
It absolutely
similarly
is.
For HOK.
Right. Just like we've seen ourselves as a partner to them here in the U.S., we see ourselves as a partner to the GSA globally.
How many firms are there like HOK around the world that are doing green design, green architecture, green building, and what kind of collaborative interest do you have in terms of all of you trading best practices?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, what's always interesting to me when I come to the GSA Summit is every year I expect that all our friends, quote unquote, are going to be here.
Right.
And they don't show up.
Really?
So this year, our main competitors, I haven't seen one person even on the list. I don't know. I mean,
so
some of our competitors are doing some of this work, and I think if you brought them all together, we could create some great things, but I can't answer that question.
Wow, that's interesting. Talk about some of the cooler things that you're doing in green building now and in green architecture for sports venues and for areas where big people congregate in, a lot of people congregate in.
Yeah, sure. So for the Atlanta Falcons, we're doing something, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, be the first LEED Platinum facility, sports facility in the world, capturing rainwater, and we're going to use it to irrigate. One of the really cool things that sounds pretty simple, but it's fantastic, is we have this big rainwater cistern, and there's a group called Trees Atlanta that's a nonprofit. So we put a plug in the cistern so their trucks can come in and plug into the cistern, get water, and go.
Come on,
for that
water
project,
the trees around Atlanta.
Yeah.
Come on, that's awesome.
The list on that project just goes on and on and on. And it's really created a catalyst for the development of the neighborhood.
So you're really making it a community hub center, really, in many ways. It's not just 8 times a year for 8 NFL games.
That's right.
It becomes a 365-day.
It's an asset for the community.
That's the best way. Wow, an asset for the community. And is that mission then, is that macro concept for any arena or anything that you're building now with regards to sports venues, making it an asset for the community?
That's always how we go into it. That's so the ideal. You know, how can it be an asset? How can we add other program to the building so you can use it 365 days a year? University of Washington Husky Stadium just opened last year. We actually put a retail store in it because the Metro link The light rail out there is now going to stop next to the stadium. It's right on campus. So people will be able to get off the light rail, go to the In-N-Out, grab a coffee, something like that, go on to campus. So we're looking for other ways that these buildings can be used other than the 6 or 8 times a year.
That is so nice. And like you say, year-round use, hopefully.
Yeah, and we're building the structure. You might as well plug in some program.
So we're talking about year-round use. Talk about LaGuardia Airport. It's really sad being a native New Yorker, and having the opportunity to travel the world on business, coming back to LaGuardia or JFK, or, by the way, many other American airports. LAX hasn't been touched since '84 Olympics. It's sad to go around the world to emerging economies and see first world, ultra amazing and cool airports, and fly back to the USA and almost slide backwards. How do you approach a renovation? And one that you then have to, or should be, thinking about legacy and history,
right,
but then also thinking about not only today, but obviously the future. Right. How do you do that? How do you meld legacy today and the future?
Yeah, when you think about airports, they're really similar to sports facilities, right? Big surge, you got a lot of people coming through them.
Right.
And what do the people want? They want the bathroom. So you got a lot of people in the bathroom potentially. They want food service, so you have to deal with concessions. And really, I think what they want, John, is a place where they can just get away for a few minutes.
You're right.
Somewhere quiet. So we're thinking about those sort of things, not just how do I get from the entry onto the plane? How do you make it a place where they're comfortable?
Wow.
And that, I think, hopefully is the legacy.
And so LaGuardia, how many year project is it? You just landed it recently. So how many years until we see the LaGuardia through your eyes?
Oh, wow. I think it could be 4 or 6 years. I think they're just figuring that out.
Figuring it out.
Projects like that is,
long term.
Long term.
Long term. Wow. And is the same thing go? Is JFK going to get a similar facelift also?
I can't speak to that.
We don't
but
know.
if they want to call us, we'd be glad to talk to them.
JFK, this is the guy, Chris DeVolder, HOK. I mean, what percentage of your projects are new and which are renovation and redevelopments?
Good question. So out of the Kansas City office, which is where our sports group is kind of based, I'd say it's probably 70% are new.
Okay.
But the 30% that are renovation, that's a good market.
Yeah.
Not
of sports venues.
Of sports venues. Not everyone's looking to build a new stadium, especially when you look at college campuses.
And is there a lot you can do with a legacy stadium?
What do you mean by legacy stadium?
I mean, like an older stadium. Is there a lot
sure.
as a redevelopment? Is there a lot you can do in terms of bringing it up to standard and beyond?
Sometimes I think there's more that you can do because it could be the original lighting. It could be the original plumbing. So there's a lot of...
Move the needle stuff right off the bat.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really great.
And when you have a legacy stadium that is so historic, especially on a college campus, people love that authenticity.
Yeah, that's
So we
true.
think about how can we be authentic with our sustainability design and initiatives around that.
Is it hard to you to walk into any public venue, whether it's an airport, whether it's a beautiful facility like we're here at McCormick, and not look at it through your own professional eyes and say, I could have done this better.
Absolutely,
We could have done that better.
Absolutely. You notice the things that look kind of wonky. That's for sure.
Wonky. Tell us about the future of both HOK and GSA, the future of HOK and the next 60 years, and what you could be doing with regards to sustainability, architecture, and building.
Yeah, great question. I think, I'll start with the second question. I think where we need to be, especially around designing sports facilities, is not just looking at an individual building, the four walls and the roof. We need to be looking at the stadium and the buildings around it, and how can they work together. So for example, if we have a hotel and a stadium next to each other, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. What is it, when you're at a hotel, John, and you get up in the morning, what do you want more than anything? Hot water, right?
Right.
Well, the stadium isn't completely shut down, So it's generating some heat throughout the night. So how can we take the heat from the stadium and help to heat the water in the hotel, so the hotel isn't having to heat its own hot water? How can we share those assets, those resources back and forth? Those are the conversations that we're starting to have.
Sort of
It's what we call a district approach.
Wow.
That's where we need to get to.
So really taking taking architecture, design, and building into the shared economy.
That's a great way to put it.
Wow.
I'm going to quote you on that.
That's a great, well, it's just, I mean, you're the one who explained it so well that it was easy to say something like that, so wow.
But that's the future.
That's the future.
It has to
I
be.
never even would have guessed that. Wow. Talk a little bit about GSA and HOK and the future.
So hopefully, HOK and GSA will continue the good work that we've done. We just announced an official partnership this week at the summit.
Congrats.
So we're hoping to build on that.
And what's that partnership called?
So it's really consulting with each other on the makeup of what's called the Global Leadership Council within GSA for groups, companies like us to help network, get more people involved. But it's also, as I mentioned a minute ago, looking at what is the future of sports facilities in the design and the construction and the operation.
That's great.
Getting outside the four walls.
Getting outside the four walls. Well, that's great. So that just kicked off
2 days ago. Yesterday we just announced it.
And what are the goals that you made for initial kickoff for that partnership?
Really, I'd say the main goal, John, is to develop this piece, if you will, of what is the future of sports facilities. What does it look like?
Right.
So we're working together right now. We've started working on that this spring.
Okay.
And the idea is to release that this fall, and hopefully that will lead to development and new ideas. It's really about generating new ideas together about the future.
Just collaborating even more.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, Chris, we thank you for all your great work in sustainability at HOK and with GSA. We thank you for making our public venue experiences better. I personally thank you for coming in and fixing up LaGuardia Airport. Even if it takes 4 to 6 years, it doesn't matter. Later's better than never.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And but we appreciate all that you're doing. This has been John Shigarian and Chris DeVolder, who's the Sustainable Design Leader for Sports and Recreation with HOK. You can learn more about all of Chris's great work and his colleagues' great work at HOK at www.hok.com. And you can learn more about the Green Sports Alliance at greensportsalliance.org. We thank you for being with us today. Chris, we thank you for making the world a greener and a better place. You are truly living proof that green is good. Thank you for being our guest today.
John, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.